That's clearly a current failure Rivenara Darno. Minister, I am worried that this is an ill-conceived bill proposing to sell the competitive energy business that is Bord Gáis Energy to the highest bidder. And I note in your speech the reassurances, sincerely given, no doubt, that that we are retaining the strategic gas networks. But I do wonder at the same time whether we're not trading certainty for risk in this situation with a strategic asset as well. I mean, currently the Bord Gáis Energy has an estimated value of between 1 billion and 1.5 billion. This bill provides for the retention and state ownership, as you've said, of strategic gas networks, but allowing the sale of the company. And as we all know, this is as a result of the November 2010 agreement with the Troika. But the first point is, in relation to the Troika, is that there is no binding provision in the bailout agreement that state assets should be sold at an undervalue or sold at a time where there is no robust demand from the market. We would be very concerned, rightly, about any fire sale. You reassure us that that's not the case. But you have told the House Minister that a new subsidiary of Bord Gáis Éireann would be established to own and operate the gas network business. And this would ring-fence and protect strategic gas network assets. That's something I'd like to return to. But in terms of the bidding process, I understand there are just two suitors left, a consortium led by Viridian and British power firm Centrica in contention for this semi-state firm. And original estimates which were circulated by market watchers for the value of Bord Gáis Energy pegged it at 1.4 billion, including debt. But last week it was reported that Centrica had bid less than 1 billion, with the Viridian-led group offering more than 1 billion. Now, Minister, considering that the offers appear to be so much lower than anticipated, I have a real concern that the government might move to sell Bord Gáis Energy with less debt and thereby leave some of the significant debt on the network side of the business. And I would ask you to reassure us that that's not the case. Why might it happen? Well, to increase the sale price of the company. But it's also been reported that Bord Gáis Energy is facing an immediate breakup under plans being advanced by Viridian. This is a Northern Irish power company. It has assembled a consortium of financial investors to mount the 1 billion bid, and that would involve each member taking over a distinct part of the business. So we have here is a tangled web of financial arrangements, which involves companies like Macquarie, an Australian investment bank and corporate financial advisor, expected to take over the substantial development plan of wind farm assets, with Allianz Capital Partners, part of a giant German insurance company, taking over the operation of wind farms. Hermes, GPE, another partner in the consortium, lined up to take over Firmus, Bord Gáis Energy's Northern Ireland natural gas supply company. With Viridian would then take over the retail gas supply business, the largest in the country, giving them increased market share in the Irish market, as it already operates the Energia business here. So to ask you, Minister, whether it has been considered, whether any competition issues or market distortion issues could be created by such a sale. The other leading bidder, Centrica, is understood to have launched its bid with the Canadian renewable energy group Brookfield. And that strategy might also see Bord Gáis Energy carved up, with Brookfield taking over the wind energy assets and Centrica holding on to the retail business. But what am I getting at? I'm getting at, Minister, what I believe could be a very dismal picture, with various investors looking to turn a quick buck, garner profit and perhaps exit the market while loading the company with debt. And this would be what we had seen before with Aircom, where the company was passed from one international investor to another, with every penny being squeezed from it and debt loaded onto its balance sheet. Meanwhile, as a result of all of that, we have one of the worst broadband networks in the developed world, as no investor is capable of investing into the physical infrastructure that is necessary. Furthermore, the undershooting of the expected 1.5 billion price for the sale of Bord Gáis Energy will have a significant impact on Ireland's budgetary position. What do our expensive Canadian bankers, RBC Capital Markets and New Era, who are handling the sale process for the state, have to say about that? So I suppose, Minister, I'm asking whether this is the right time for such a sale, whether it has been considered postponing such a sale into the future. We've heard the phrase selling the family silver many times, but it seems to me that this is a case of selling the family boiler. We're being assured that we get to keep the pipes in the wall of the house. But I wonder whether we're dealing with phony economics here. The concern that I referred to earlier, that the debt would be or might be retained in the network end of the business, arises from my fear that the government will do whatever it deems necessary to increase the sale price. But retaining the debt in the new network business would lead to the question of what the state and the consumer would be left with after the sale process. So if we sell the boiler and all the debt from the boiler goes onto the pipes, the consumer ends up having to pay for the pleasure of helping the bidders buy a company with no debt. So this, were it to happen, Minister, and I hope you'll reassure us that it won't, would raise the question about whether we ever learn from our mistakes. We can't sell what is a strategic asset to venture capitalists and international financial vultures, to be frank, if what we are doing departs from investing in our future and in fact focuses on their profitability. That would be a very short-sighted way to go about trying to create a cost-effective energy market in the country. And when one considers that energy prices here for consumers and small businesses are among the highest in Europe, one has to ask how much higher will they be after profiteers get their hands on Bord Gáis Energy. We've seen more than $1 billion invested by Bord Gáis in energy projects in Ireland, and that is to be welcomed. But rather than a long-term investment in Ireland's energy security, I am worried that we are giving in to bidders who are looking to create a quick buck. And who's left? The squeezed customer, unaware perhaps of the financial wizardry being proposed, could be left with higher bills to pay off debt and investments while at the same time profits flow out of Ireland. So I wonder whether any analysis of the possible impact of this process on energy and gas bills has been done by the Minister. I would certainly be writing to the Commission for Energy Regulation to ask that the sale be forestalled until such an impact analysis has been done into cost for the consumer. And finally, what about the employees who've worked in Bord Gáis to build up the company? What happens to them? It's certainly not true to suggest that they all become wealthy shareholders, because the employee share option scheme closed in 2008, and therefore most current employees do not qualify. So, Minister, I am concerned that despite your best intentions, that this could be a fire sale of a strategic state asset with little thought on how it will affect our energy market, employees, our customers. The leading bidders have said that they wish to break up the company post-sale. That is a matter of concern, it seems to me, and I wonder whether we will see this valuable asset broken up and asset stripped, as I've stated earlier. That would certainly be greatly to be regretted. But, Minister, I would be grateful just for your views on what is going to happen in relation to the question of the debt on the company. Who's going to be left with that?